Okay. In the last class, we've seen about LO extraction with all the three update modes: direct delta, queued delta, and unserialized V3 update. Yeah. Any interview discussion on this update modes is mandatory. Like it's very, 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 very important. Yeah. Good. So if we understand any kind of update mode, whether it is direct delta or queued delta or unserialized V3 update, if we understand how historical data has been processed, yeah, if you see filling your setup tables, running in it is all common, but how the delta records are processed differs with update mode. How you are bringing historical data is all same, either it is direct delta or queued delta or unserialized V3 update, but how you are processing your delta records would differ from update mode to update mode. Yeah. Okay. So in case of direct delta, what happens? When the postings are done, it creates LUWs directly into what? Delta queue, which stores two sets of data, delta and delta repetition. And then when you do delta, it extracts all the records from delta queue to BWs. Clear on this? Yeah. That is your direct delta. But in case of unserialized V3 update, when the postings are done, it collects LUWs to what? Update queue, which is SM13. Then you basically schedule the V3 job, collect the documents from update queue to what? Delta queue. Again, delta queue will store two sets of data. When you do delta load, it picks records from delta queue to BWs. What is this? Unserialized V3 update. In case of queued delta, again what? When the postings are done, it collects documents into what? Extractor queue, which is LBW queue. Again, when you schedule the V3 job, it collects documents from extractor queue to what? Delta queue. And when you do delta, it extracts records from delta queue to BW. Till it's clear, right? Good. Till this procedure, you're clear. Yeah. Before we get into details, we should learn about what is V1, what is V2 and V3. Okay. And someone asked me a question, what is V4 also? There is no V4. Okay. So they asked me a question, what is V4? I was just laughing. Okay. V4 layer. There is only V1, V2 and V3 only. Okay. Now, basically V1 is considered time critical updating. Time critical updates. Non-time critical updates. Non-time critical with background processing. V1 is time critical updates, V2 is non-time critical updates, and V3 is non-time critical with background processing. That's the difference between V1, V2, V3. Now, what is time critical updating? What is non-time critical updating? All this. Now, look at this. Say, for example, you are posting sales orders. Now, to create a sales order, what do you do? VA01. If you want to change, what do you do? VA02. And if it is VA03, it's for display. This does nothing. VA03 is just display. When you create a new sales order in VA01, should it create a new record into those tables? VBAC table. See, these are all your sales relevant tables. Yeah. Yes or no? See, these are VBAC is sales header data, VBAP is sales item level data, VBEP is sales schedule line data. Do you know what is header, item and schedule line now? Now VBUK is sales order header status and VBUP is item status. So these are your two status tables. These are the header, item and schedule line tables. Okay. Now if I go to VA01 and if I create some sales order, will it create a new entry into these tables? New record into these tables? Yeah. And when I go to VA02, what happens? It does do the changes to the existing record into these tables. If you're creating new transaction, it creates new entry to this table. If you're changing a transaction, the existing transactions are changed. Or if you delete it, the record is supposed to be the reverse record. That's it. Yeah? Now focus on this. So now let's say in these tables, I have an order 7722 with what? Let's say 5,000 is a value. Yeah? Now we have a user who is actually changing this order. If he is changing, he changes in what? VA02. Right? He is changing this order. Okay. Now let's say he does do changes. Okay. Let's say he changed from 5,000 to 7,000. Okay. The change, should this change happen into these tables? Is that critical? Ante? See, I should first thing is changes to these tables. Okay. Next thing is I need to update into your update queue SM13 or LBWQ or what? Let's say RSS7. Depending on the update mode. If I do after initialization, let's say my end user is doing posting this. Two things should happen. One is the corresponding tables, the data should be changed. And also it has to collect LUWs to queues depending on the update mode. If it is unserialized, it should collect LUWs into SM13. If it is queued, it has to collect into what? LBW queue. If it is direct delta, then it has to collect LUWs directly to what? Delta queue. Okay, boss? Yes or no? Two updates are necessary here. One is changes to the corresponding database tables in the backend. One is changes LUWs to get update to these queues depending on the update mode. Right? Which is important? Which is important? Updating these tables is important or this is important? Don't worry, think about BW concept. Think about business. Updating these tables is important. If I don't, like for example, let's say now end user goes to VA02, he changes the transaction, he clicks on save. Let's say you update this, then you update all this. Until then, your cursor is kept waiting. Until then, your cursor is kept waiting, and then once you update the queues and this, then it says document has been saved. Will it affect the performance of OLTP system? Will it affect the performance of processing the transactions first? Yes or no? So what it does is, see, it has to update lot of places. When I change some transaction, it has to update lot of places first. Then what it does, all the kind of updating it has to do, it differentiates as V1 and what? V2. V1 are nothing but time critical update. You have to update it because it has to reflect other changes also. That is the most important changes which has to get updated. That will be, so it will consider the changes to the database tables as V1, time critical updating. And updating the queues into this will consider as V2, which is not time critical. It can take its own time. It is not affecting their business. So what it does, when you click save, it does do the time critical updating V1 and then says document has been saved. It doesn't worry about V2. Later it triggers V2, which is non-time critical updating, then updates the queues into this. With what are the updates it is which are very important for the business, it does as part of what? V1. Non-important updates it does do as part of what? V2. It will have those events in the programming. It will have the two events, V1 event and V2 event. When the program is triggered, first it does do the V1, then at leisure time it does do the V2 update. It doesn't really go all. So even though V2 is not performed, it says document has been saved. Your cursor is not kept waiting until the V2 is running. Only after finishing V1 it says document has been saved. Immediately it takes care of running V2, which is not based on the, it is not kept waiting. Did you understand this? V1 and V2? Then there's something V3. V3 is also non-critical, but you can schedule that as a background job. That is V3. Clear? You understand about V1, V2, V3 now? Good. Which one? Asynchronous, because you're just running it is in the background. Don't use the word synchronous, asynchronous. Don't use that word. Better word is this. Okay. Clear with this now? Yeah. Now, after knowing this, initially what SAP had done is we had something called LIS extraction to extract the logistics data. When R3 version was very old, like 4.6, like that, very old. Okay. Then to extract logistics, we were using LIS extraction, not even LO. There was no LO extraction initially at all. Initially, we only had LIS extractions. Okay. And this had some limitations. So to overcome with this, SAP came out with LO extraction. That's the point. So what is the limitations with this? What was the limitations with this? Okay. In LIS, what we had is we had one data source to extract all the levels of data for an application. For example, if I want to extract sales order data, I had one data source which brings in header, item, schedule, like say 2LIS_01 S260. That was bringing all sales. When I say sales, header, item, schedule, and everything comes out. So because of this, my problem was when I had a requirement to bring only header. Imagine like this. Say I have one sales order with 10 line items, and each line item has got 5 schedule lines. So if I need to extract the sales order data, how many records will I extract? 56 records it brings in. But actually I wanted only one record. So am I not increasing the input-output volume of data bus? Right? Okay, boss. That was one limitation I had with LIS. Okay. Then one more problem was we are having queues, right? Previously in LIS we had we are having this as cluster table now here. In LIS we had it as normal table, transparent table. Normal, transparent table. Now what happens? In LO, what is happening? You are just filling historical data to setup tables. From there, the init comes in. Yeah. And then from the delta records are posted through the queues. In LIS, what happens? Historical data is filled into the setup tables, which is like normal transparent table. Okay. And then from then onwards, when the postings are done, it updates LUWs to transparent table as well as there are two delta tables like 1 and 2 which are interchangeable use. That's a table. Like two delta tables are like say when 1 is active, which is collecting, 2 is giving, and when 2 is collecting, 1 will be giving to BW. Interchangeably they were used actually. So when I do delta postings, delta postings are collected to what? Setup table and what? The delta table whichever is active also. Now then the setup table is almost equal to the size of my cube in BW. In LIS, historical data is filled as well as delta records are also loaded, same like cube. Now can I say now size of your setup table in LIS was equal to size of my cube. Cube any records undadu, setup table lo any records undadu, which is like normal transparent table. I am not wasting the database space. Yes or no? Yeah? Database performance. What is it? Here you have queue, right? What should I do? I will delete this. Like this, we had two tables here. Yeah? One is called as 1 and other one is called as 2. Okay. Let's say now 1 is collecting and 2 will be giving data to BW. Yeah. Now when you do next delta, then what happens? Now 1 will start giving and will start collecting data into 2. Like this, there are 2 delta tables. Okay. It collects delta records here and also to select tables also. But now okay, we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Now, one more thing is, see, it was basically when it updates into this tables. Updating of these tables was also handled as a critical updating. Like it was updating into these tables, application tables, and also this table, which is considered as critical updating. So until it was updating this table, the cursor was kept into waiting state. Okay. Will it affect the performance of OLTP systems? Yeah. When I say OLTP system, it's like performance of processing your transactions was affected. So we had these 3 limitations with LIS. So to overcome with this, SAP came out with what? LO extraction. Initially, they came out with LO extraction only with serialized V3 update. Initially, SAP came out with LO extraction only with serialized V3 update, and this had a lot of disadvantages again. So again, the SAP came out with 3, then asked us to use anything which you as per your requirement. Now look at this. How does this work? This is serialized V3 update. Looks exactly same like your unserialized, but only thing difference. Look at this. See how you bring historical data is same. When the delta documents are posted, it posts them LUWs into what? Into what is this? Update queue. Then when you schedule the V3 job, what it does? It has to collect documents from update queue to what? Delta queue. While collecting in, it does do the sorting of those LUWs and then collects them into delta queue. I don't know how many of you remember when I showed you in update queue, I showed you date and time. I remember. I showed there something called date and time. Based on the date and time, it does do the sorting and then collects in the same sequence into delta queue. Who? Serialized V3 update. So it was with V3 job, it was also doing sorting also. Sorting of LUWs. And with that sorting, we had a lot of problems. Because their intention was all the LUWs are posted into what? Update queue. Then they wanted to send the postings in the same sequence to BW. Getting what I am saying? If I miss a sequence, can I load it to ODS? No, right? I need to send the postings in the same sequence, right? So in order to maintain the sequence, they were using sorting option with V3 job. So when you run V3 job, it does the sorting of those LUWs based on the date and time of creation and then takes into delta queues. Right? But that had a limitations. Because of that sorting, we had a problem. First point. So look at a V3 job with sorting and without sorting. Which would be faster? Without sorting. So performance of V3 job. Because of sorting, the performance of V3 job was affected. Okay. One more thing. I have done. Okay. Now try to understand this. Let's say this is your SM13, which is what? Update queue. Let's say this is your RSS7. Okay. Now I had one LUW like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Assume they are in the same sequence. The date and time is in that sequence only. Okay. This is English. This is English. This is German. This is German. This is English. This is English. This is German. This is German. English. I have my LUWs maintained like this. Two conditions here. One is your V3 job has to maintain the sorting. At the same time, it cannot. If I don't know how many of you remember, In direct delta, when I do posting, I was able to see, in delta K I was able to see two was what? 2 LUWs. But in case of Q delta unserialized, when you see, when let's say I had 3 LUWs, when I do V3 job, in delta Q it was showing 1. 1 indicates, I said, one segment I told you. I told you it's one segment, right? Good. Now look at this. Your end point was. When you run the V3 job in case of serialized V3 update, it has to do sorting. Let's say this is the same sequence the documents are posted, like 1 to 9. Okay. At the same time, it cannot process LUWs of different language into same segment. Postings of different language cannot come into same segment. At the same time, it has to maintain sorting also. Now tell me what will happen in this case. How many segments will it load into delta Q? Now it takes 1 and 2. Will it take 3 into that? No, right? So 1 and 2 is one segment, 3 and 4 is one segment, 5 and 6 is one segment, 7 and 8 is one segment, 9 is one segment. Why it has formed 5 segments? Suppose if I say there is no sorting, let's unserialize V3 update, there is no sorting, then what it can do? It can take all English into one segment, all German into one segment. How many segments will it form? 2. Now how many segments is it forming now? 5. Again, will it affect the performance? Bundling of records and segments again, will it affect the performance of the V3 job again? Yes. Okay, boss. Next, one more. Look at this. We had one more problem. Let's say I had so many LUWs like this, and let's say the posting of LUW 7 has been error. There is some problem with that posting. Okay. So now when you run the V3 job, what happens? It takes 1 to 6. Since it cannot process 7, it will not process 8 and 9 also. So we used to manually get to SM13, find that error LUW, understand this error LUW belongs to which document number, which sales order number it is. Then let's say it is of 7722. Focus, okay? Let's say you know how to see the data in SM13. We used to observe it for which document it is 7722. Then delete this LUW and do a normal V3 job again. Then what? 8 and 9 goes now. Since the 7 is deleted, 8 and 9 are processed. Yes, but the 7 is not processed. When you say one LUW is not processed, now the value of this document in ECC and BW will be different. Yes or no? Then we used to go to Q, do a selected list of the document number 7722, go back to ECC, delete the select tables, fill the status tables only for 7722 and load through the document again. Reloading only for that document again. We used to handle this because if one record is in error, it does not process even the subsequent records also. Clear on this? So we used to have frequent failures, frequent error handling like this. Like go to the queue, delete those LUW, find out which document number it is, and reprocess the document again. Okay. Time taken by every instance of post. Now look at this. Next, see, does it maintain the sorting here? It does do sorting at the date and time of date and the time of creation, then takes in. Yeah. Now let's say there is one customer, one business user, yeah, who started posting a transaction. Okay. He changed this transaction within 2 minutes. There's one user who started changing at 9 o'clock. And there's one more user who started changing at 9:05. The person who started at 9:05 finished changes by 9:07. But the person who started at 9 o'clock saved changes at what? 9:10. So are we getting the sequence of the postings exactly, even if you're doing sorting? Actual business sequence is what? The one which is at 9 and the one which is at what? 9:05 next. But are we getting the same sequence? No. Yes or no? So if I need to guarantee the sequence of posting, I should say the time taken by every instance of posting should be always same. Can you guarantee me that? You can never guarantee. One person would go for have coffee, then he'll do saving after one day. Then what will you do? So these were the problems what we had with unserialized V3 updates. We went into problems just because we wanted to maintain sorting. Clear this? Okay. Okay. So then SAP, what he does is he came out with 3 update modes. One is what? Direct delta, unserialized V3 update, queued delta. So these are the 3 update modes SAP came out with. Not one, they came out with 3, and then they asked you to use it with depending on the requirements. Okay. In case of direct delta, are we using V3 job? Are we using V3 job? No, we don't have any processing of V3 job at all. Straight away all the documents are posted to what? Delta queue, which is what? RSS7. Yes or no? Yeah. So what he says is, you can eliminate the process of all the V3 job if you use direct delta, but we can say, will this be suitable only in case where the postings are really less, where number of postings are only like say 5,000, 10,000 per day, like that. Because you are not using V3 job, straight away you are posting it to delta. Then what happens at say for example you have enhanced the data source. So when you enhance data source, you write some specific code for it. So if it is updating records into delta queue, the enhancement code is written. Code gets executed, of course. So when I am updating direct records into delta queue, is my code getting executed? Is it taking a lot of time? That's why it is suitable only in cases where the number of postings are really less, and the transaction postings are less. Okay. Less ante is just 5,000 to 10,000 per day. That is what less means. Okay. Next. See, almost all we had major problems here because of sorting, right? Now when you say unserialized V3 update, there is no sorting at all. It just takes LUWs what is available, puts them into delta. Will it reduce the number of segments irrespective of the language? Will increase the performance of it because there is no sorting? And do I need to guarantee the sequence of posting? Nothing. So will it solve all the problems of unserialized V3 update? But we will have a problem where we are not getting any serialization. We are eliminating sorting process in this, but we are able to solve all the problems. But the main problem is what? We are missing the sequence of posting. Yes or no? So he says, use unserialized V3 update in a scenario where you don't need serialization of posting, okay, that's where we should use. And when unserialized V3 update is used, we cannot load it to ODS. DSO or ODS. When unserialized V3 update is used, we cannot load it to DSO. Why? When you say you are loading with unserialized V3 update, you are not guaranteeing the sequence. When the sequence is not guaranteed, how will you overwrite the records? Yes or no? When you are overwriting, sequence is important. Yes or no? Yeah. So that's generally when you are working with inventory management, with application 03 BFEM, use unserialized where there is no need of serialized, because it's all about metal stock movement. Let's say today I have an inflow of 10, Tomorrow there is an outflow of 20. Each movement is one new transaction always. Each movement is a new transaction, and then moreover what happens, let's say today I have an inflow of 100. Yesterday I had an inflow of 20. What is my total inflow? 120. Either 20 plus 100 is 120, 100 plus 120. Anyway you add, it always gives you the same result because it is, you want to add those values. You getting what I am saying? If you are overwriting, then the serialization is important. When you are adding in, you don't mind, you don't worry about serialization. 100 plus 20 is 120, 20 plus 100 is 120. Clear what I am saying? Yeah. Next, Q delta. See, what does this use? Does this use extractor Q? Which is what? LBW cubes. What is this? Update Q, SM13. And what is the other T code? LBW Q. What is this? It says? It does use outbound Q. Outbound Q will have all the LEWs what we are posting. It will have all the LEWs what we are posting here. Okay. So what does this do is, so since we are using outbound Q, it is a queue. It is not update tables. It is what? It's a queue. Queue is what? First in, first out. So it's like a pipe. Okay, you're just posting in, the record just gets stored like that. And when you run the V3 job, whatever it is first in, it will be taking it as first out. FIFO, first in, first out. Whatever the LEWs which are coming first, it will be going out first. So I am making serialization. My V3 job is not doing sorting. While placing the LEWs itself, I am placing in a queue. My V3 job will not do any sorting of the LEWs. LEWs will be available in the queue, and queue is what? First in, first out. Whatever has come in first will be going out first. FIFO, first in, first out. So V3 job will just keep collecting, will just trigger the load. Then whatever LEW which is come in first will be going out first. So I am implementing serialization here. Yes sir, are we implementing serialization first? Whatever is coming first, that is coming out first. That's it. Yeah. Serialization is maintained. So if I have a data source with Q delta, can I load it to DSO? Yes. Yeah. And do we have V3 job here? Yes, suppose. In Q delta, do we use V3 job? So then what will it improve the performance first? It can be used when you're really posting huge amount of, because when you're doing postings, all the LEWs gets into what? Extractor Q. Then when you're running V3 job, it collects into what? Delta Q. Then your enhancement code would run it. So I am disturbing the performance of the OLTP system when I am to trigger my enhancement code. Enhancement code is triggered laterally when you are running what? V3 job, which is in the background. I am nowhere affecting the performance of application at all. Clear? So that is like V3 job which is scheduled in the back. We use V3 job here. Serialization is maintained because of your outbound queue. So can I use this when the data volume is huge? Data volume is huge and need serialization and to load data to. So when the data volume is huge and you want serialization and when you want to load it to DSO, we use what? Q delta. So majority of the case you would see Q delta being used. Only in specific case of inventory we would go with unserialized method because of this, because we want to load it to Q directly. Okay, boss? More precisely, now if you see this, I'll give this doc, we just read through, but we don't need all this. So basically, as per the latest plugin 2002.1, you'll have only three. One is what? Direct, queued, and what? Unserialized. No more serialized concept. Yeah.
How do we addressing
Now look at this. So this is where you basically choose what update mode you want. Okay. Now let's focus on what is this? Unserialized V3 update. Now look at the same way. If it is unserialized V3 update, let's say you're posting some document. I told you V1 updating. What is V1? Time critical updating, which updates document tables. All those VBAC, VBAP, all the application tables are updated. Then a V3 module call, which is just basically a program, okay, separate program which is nowhere linked up with my document, takes care of updating into what? Update tables, which is what? SM13. Then your V3 collective job, nothing but V3 job will run in, which will read all the all the existing updates for a module and puts them into what? One LAWS, one commit into what? Delta Q. Then in BW, when you run delta load, it extracts from delta Q to what? BWS. This is what? Unserialized. So focus on this. It says V1 here, and for updating it, for updating application tables, it is V1 updating, time critical updating, and update tables are not updated with critical updating, so it does not affect the performance. Customer says document is being saved, then later there is some program or function model triggered which will update into what? Update tables. My program of VA01 or VA02 will not update into update tables. My program will only do the V1 updating and triggers a function model which takes care of updating update tables. Okay. Don't do this. Now Q delta. Now look at this. Now in this case, now we have V1 updating your update tables. Now what is this? Filling extraction queue from what? From which update? V1 update. Is it time critical update now? So when I say time critical updating, will it have serialization? Will it have serialization or not? So because of the V1 which is updating your extractor outbound queue, it will maintain serialization, and the V3 job need not do sorting because of the V1 update here itself sorting is done. Getting what I am saying? And then it reads all the entries from the queue and then loads into this one LAW1 commit, and then from there to BW bus. Don't know. You remember this program names? What is this? RM BW V3 02 011. What is this program names? V3 job programs. Program names to schedule your V3 job. Now look at this. Delta Q straight away with V1 updating application tables, and V1 updates straight away into what? What is this? Delta Q, and from there your delta request runs it, takes it from there to BW. But only thing is, here we are using what? Delta Q, but when the records are posted to delta Q, it has to trigger enhancement code also, where the performance of V3 job is affected. V1 job is affected. So this is fine when the posting is really less. And when you use direct delta, the time taken to post a transaction is a bit more. So we will prefer it only when the transaction posting is really less. But we are able to eliminate the process of complete what? What is this? V3 jobs. Clear? So depending on this, yes, given all the three, depending on the case, you use it one by one. Did you understand this clear? Okay.